Vezi, my man.
How's it going, Almo? How's it going?
Good in you, man. Good in you.
Good thanks, good
Yeah.
thanks. Can't complain.
So I just wanted to. I don't usually introduce my guests. I just prefer them to tell us listeners, who you are, what you do, what you want to talk about today.
Cool, no stress, no stress. I think I'll begin with the introduction. Just obviously my full name is Vezokuhle Mntungwa. But that's the name I was given at home, obviously. And then as I grew up, I was called Vezi. And I
Okay.
can't tell you why. It
Yeah.
makes no sense because usually I should have been Vezo, not Vezi, but that's kind of how things played out. And I've taken that name and ran with it. So I'm multicultural. So my mom is Zulu, my dad is Xhosa. Um, so that's my cultural background. And so I grew up in Langa Township. So
Mm.
growing up here, I think every kid at a certain age goes through the same stuff. So I went through, the gang violence, again, living with both my parents lived in the Eastern Cape at this time. So I lived
Okay.
at home with like babysitters and nannies and stuff. So I kind of grew a resentment, kind of like as a kid, I didn't know what it was, but I guess it's seeking for longing, seeking for a parenthood within the household. So then what had happened was I started lashing out at school, joining groups, doing drinking at a young age, smoking and all that type of stuff. And fortunate for
Okay.
me then, I was playing cricket also in the meantime. So while I'm
Okay.
busy, running around, we just playing cricket for fun though, because with cricket, the nice thing was, because I was playing cricket, hockey, and soccer all at
Okay.
once. So playing these sports is just really like an activity that we did on the side. But the
Okay.
nice thing about cricket was cricket used to play away games. So we'd play at like Rondebosch, Bishops, and I mean you're gonna come there. There's donuts, there's lunch.
Okay.
So that was
So,
really like
yeah.
so that was the pulling factor for us to make sure we don't miss any cricket match. We're always there.
Brilliant.
So without it, even I knew that I was good at cricket. I was going for that. But the guys, who were our coaches, who were our managers, were identifying this and realizing that no, man, these guys are really talented. So
Mm.
while this is happening, we then, um, this guy then took his own time, right? He would go to schools. I remember the one time I went to a school called Wet Pubs. I think it's in Wonderbosch or Claremont.
Yeah, I think it's a primary school for that side. Yeah.
Yeah, so he actually went there to go and ask the school to take a bursary for me. Like that's the stuff
Okay.
he was doing behind the scenes, and I would just rock up and play. I don't even know what's going on by the way this time. I'm just there to play.
Yeah.
So so I'll
Yeah.
just come play, and he did this for multiple schools. I got a scholarship to a school called Western Cape Sports School, which is in Kelstrip. I think it closed down now. But that was all him in the background, curating stuff for me. And so then in that kind of year of him getting that school for grade 8, I'm in grade 7 at the moment.
Mm.
He found a team for me, so he would like call Western Province and say, "Hey, please open a spot for this kid to come and join the trials." I'll come
Yeah.
there, I'll play, and that's kind of how I made the teams. Then after tournaments, I won like 7 awards in one tournament, and got selected to play for the Western Cape Schools team, I think, which was touring
Okay.
to India at the time. So went to India, got there. Even there, I thrashed everything, won every award, and
Yeah.
to my luck, one of the parents within the team was part of the governing body of the school called Somerset College. So
Okay.
after we kind of separated, he kind of obviously, I mean, I didn't know again. He's busy asking me questions, right? Like, where are you from? Who are you? So I'm just excited really to just be communicating with people and like telling them who I am. But
Mm.
beknownst to myself is that he's kind of like collecting data of who I am, that he's going to
Okay.
go back and tell the school, like, hey, man, this kid, X, Y, and Z, and got a phone call, like, hey, you got an interview. I'm like, what? So I
Okay.
rock up at the school interview, and I heard this later, but apparently I sucked because you must do like a test.
Okay.
So the interview was great, obviously, because they loved me and they loved my energy and everything. But then I had to do like a math test, an English test, I think, and apparently at math I
Yeah.
got like, I don't know, 20%, something ridiculous. But then I got
Right.
taken through obviously cricket being the major leverage that I had, and got into the school, made it at 19, either that year or the following year. So went to Sri Lanka that year. So I went
Okay.
there, and And yeah, that's kind of like was my biggest highlight in cricket, kind of making it at 19, and it was the World Cup the following year, so kind of everything was kind of rolling out. It was a beautiful time at that moment. And returning from the tour was my last game as a senior in hockey, because I played hockey winter and cricket in summer, and it was a game against our derby school. So to me, it was like the best moment. Every person's
Yeah.
there. It's a whole rivalry, and I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
I can't miss this for anything. Went to go and
Right.
play, tore my ACL.
Sure.
Boom, gone. I'm out for a whole year. And that changed my whole trajectory of life, because what I didn't know was in the last 8 years, I've been playing cricket really as a means of survival. You know,
Right.
I didn't really like acknowledge that for a long time. I kind of assumed the role as I'm going to be the next cricketer and stuff. And also fortunate to me, Tim Bavuma, who's now the SA Test team captain, I think he's from Langa. So at that
Okay.
point, I'm friends with these guys, you know, Temba, Kagiso Rabada. These are all
Yeah.
my immediate friend group. So I'm also like consumed by this idea of, yes, I'm part of this group. I'm this person, you know. And that
Okay.
injury for me was the first time I got to detach from that identity and be like, wait, who am I really? What do you want?
Yeah.
And again, in that 8 years, I lost about 10 friends, if not 20, but it was a crazy number of guys who had passed away through gang violence, you know. And also, it's easier to understand when you come from their shoes than being someone on the outside looking in. It's kind of me knowing that, man, none of these guys are evil or are like were born like that. It was just the nature of kind of the environment we were in. It's like the easiest thing that it's like your first mistake as a kid. Imagine your first mistake is stabbing someone, for example. That's kind of the challenges we faced. You know, our first mistakes were huge consequences, you know. So when I kind of sat down, all these things kind of dawned on me, you know, survivor's remorse, everything kind of dawned on me. And I was like, damn, like really, like for me, I just want to make sure that I save the next black kid, you know, going through X, Y, and Z. And Temba and them and Kagiso and them became examples to me that these guys, I'm not dissing them or anything, but they weren't doing enough, you know, at a grassroots level to impact and guide these kids. You know, just being on TV every day does not ensure that you can actually guide someone through these things that they're going through, you know. You're hoping that obviously they idolize you, but how are they going to get there? And that's kind of me. I felt like I was more in love with the how than me being on the TV and hoping that kind of my legacy or me playing would impact someone.
Why do you think you had such an altruistic sort of attitude at that age already? What do you think influenced that?
I think it's just being part of it, man. I think because again, like if you look at Temba's story, he got a scholarship in primary school already, so he missed that whole phase.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas for me, I lived that phase. I only got out of the township in high school. Yeah. So for me, it's like I had a personal connection. These are people I was sleeping. They're sleeping on my couch. I was sleeping at their couch. You know, it's like this is my family. You know what I mean? So it was a different attachment for me than someone who was born somewhere but didn't really get to live, you know,
in that environment.
Yeah, 100%. So that's what I felt like for me made me too attached to that. So so then also at that time, then what I ended up doing during my rehab phase, because I was on crutches for like 6 months, I couldn't really do much. So the music, art, clothing became stuff I did, and also like I was studying a lot more because I wasn't studying the whole time. It was my first time I could actually study for school and everything. So I became like a desk person. Yeah, so I was busy creating music, busy designing clothes, you know, learning about, you know, podcasts. I did a lot of like kind of research and working on like personal projects. Yeah. So that kind of launched my creative career, because in that year, I released my first clothing collection. I released my first body of work to SoundCloud. I had my first clothing line that was sold out. So I, you know, kind of had like, you know, the studio time and had the real time to see this, you know, have even like had even an art gallery that I had with my artworks, you know, so that it was just, you know, amazing, you know. And so by the time then, you know, cricket came back when I recovered, you know, since I recovered, it was like, okay, off season time, come train. So now I'm like, it's time for me to really put in perspective as to what do I really want. And I think initially it was, okay, cool, let me go 50-50, because now also I understood what sports was doing for me in regards to finances. It was paying for my, you know, tuition fees. My mom didn't have to worry about me. And also I understood my sister. My mom took like 4 different loans for her to get through varsity, you know. So this was something I knew. So
Yeah.
now it's like, imagine Vezi goes, I'm done with cricket. Now you must pay for my fees. I felt like it was very unfair,
Yeah.
towards her and her being a single parent. So yeah, that was a huge influence to me there to be like, okay, cool, I have to play. I have no choice, but
Yeah.
my responsibility now though is to ensure that I find time to do what I actually love so that
Right.
when the time comes that I can fully do it, I can have a portfolio and already be moving rather than starting from scratch.
Okay.
So yeah, that led
So you were
into
much more
varsity.
focused at this point and understood what the reasons were. You were doing the cricket, and you didn't leave it because you now had this found your other passion, but you could now work towards something.
Yeah, 100%. So I mean, it would have been easier to leave. I won't lie. That's what I personally wanted. But again, the pressures of leaving and the consequences were too high. So I was like, no, let me, like you said, like focus. Kind of focusing into like an exit strategy. I'll put it in that way. So I knew my exit strategy. Like, okay, cool, that's my exit strategy. So let me not
Mm.
also like neglect it. Let me work on both. And yeah, I got another scholarship to attend Stellenbosch University. Um, and even that also, like, when it was time to choose the degree course I was going to do, obviously it's either sports science. That was the main one. Like, hey, sports science. And I was like, no, I don't want nothing to do with sport. Like, I want something else. And again, to appease my mom, because I actually wanted to apply for the art course. But I was like, damn, like, how am I going to explain this to my mom? And, again, they are more traditional. Like, it's like, what are you going to do with art afterwards? So that became a whole conversation I wasn't ready to have. So I was like, okay, cool, what else is on there? Chose political science. I'm someone who loves to read, who loves the history and understanding why things are the way they are. So that became an easy choice for me. And my highest mark actually was probably history in high school. So that was an easy choice for me to do that. So I did political science. Yeah, throughout high school, it was the battle between school cricket, creativity, school cricket creativity. Not easy. Had to merge both. Had to make things happen. And yeah, so then when I came time to graduate, I kind of knew already, okay, what I wanted to do. Told my family, hey guys, I'm going in this direction. And most of them didn't like it, because they thought like I was gonna change at some point. Like, how parents would be like, oh man, it's a phase. He'll get over that creative whatever, whatever. And I didn't.
Mm.
So when that time came to be like, hey guys, what the promise you guys promised to me, time to keep it now. I'm done. And they didn't like it, and it was a huge battle to a point where I even left home. I went to go, I built myself a shack, and that was like a very depressing time in my life because, again, like I knew the exit strategy, so I think I saved about 30 grand, so I was ready. I knew 30 grand, I'm gonna buy my equipment, I'm doing this event, so I kind of figured the whole plan, the whole rollout, so then the 30 grand, instead of it going into my art, I had to build this shack, I had to start providing for myself. It went
Yeah.
by quickly, ended up getting a job. I was waitering in Kemps Bay for some time. I couldn't do it. That was the first 6 months, yeah, of 2020. I don't know the date by the top of my head, but it was the first 6 months of that year, though, where I was just like figuring life out and life just hitting me in all different directions. And then I was like, okay, cool. Because I knew about bridges, but I hated school. So I was like, I'm not going to go back to school. I'm going to do this thing. I know the know how, not going to school. So now when my funds depleted, I needed support. And Bridges Academy for Music then became, okay, now I have to go and join the school. I have no other choice. There's no alternative. That's how I joined Bridges. And that's how, with all the ideas I had, they helped me conceptualize them and also put them in a structured format. And that's how my company, Nasegasi Recordings, came to life. And yeah, it's been a breeze and been a life of creativity ever since then.
Wow. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about the business, exactly what it does, some of your current plans, all of that.
Yeah, so the business, I mean, the whole format of the business is it's kind of modeled around bridges as well. So those who know, it's an NPO, but it also has a corporate side to it. So it does make profit, but it also got an NPO side. So that's the structure I also adopted in my company. The NPO mainly because we do a lot of workshops, we do a lot of teaching, to up and coming creatives, and even not even them really, like just teaching people skills in general. Because initially it was artists, and I realized that these skills are needed by so many people. It's beyond that. Because, for example, using Canva, using Google documents, because I mean, these are kids coming from backgrounds where they don't have access to a lot of things. So anything that's free and we can kind of delve into it. Like I know now there's a whole rave about CapCut, but I was using CapCut like 4 years ago. You know what I mean? I was using all these free apps. I was always the guy finding new apps. How can I better my creativity? But now when you look, it's like companies are needing people who can use CapCut. It's like you can get paid just to be a social media, I don't know, agent or whatever. So I understood how big, utilizing these apps, even ChatGPT. You could be a publicist, just knowing how to use ChatGPT. There's so much, things that you can kind of like create around those apps. So now we started teaching those apps, teaching our skills, because everything I did was DIY. So a lot of it is like low entry level. Like there's no real finances to get. So that's became our thing. So now with the NPC side, the help comes in and do like funding. It's easier to get money to go and like, set up, whether we need like a stage, we need whatever we need. That's kind of the NPC side of things. And then when it comes to the corporate side, is that there are some artists who are ready. Like I call them like guys who are ready for investment. So guys who already have the music, guys who already have the art, the visual artwork, guys who are already shooting, So those guys, then our goal is like, how do we bring light to these guys? How do we, make sure these guys actually make an income from the work that they provide? So that's kind of what we do in a nutshell on that regard. And currently we have an initiative called 365 where we've been dropping a song a day since January 1st, doing that. And that initially was an idea that I had for myself. I was watching an interview by a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk, and he was speaking to Nipsey Hussle. And you know how Gary is, his persona. He's like, man, I wish I was an artist. These kids today don't need no middleman. They can just record a song in their bedroom. Next thing you know, it's out in the world. And that for me was like, and besides saying that, he then went on to say, he foresees a kid one day releasing a song a day because they're able to. There's no one holding them back anymore. And at that time, so as I was saying, in the last 4 years of studying in high school, I was already making music, but I didn't know what for. I didn't have a goal. It was just songs that I was just making for fun, and just kind of appeasing my creative side to feel, sane, within everything was happening. So then when I saw that interview, I'm like, man, I'm already like 400 songs in. This would be a walk in the park. But then obviously, like, when I went back to listen to most of the songs, I've already grown as an artist. I didn't like quite a lot of them. And also you become a perfectionist, and you're competitive. You're like, no, I'm going to use these ones, but I'm going to, double up and make more. And in that process, without even me knowing, I then created a whole like network of artists that now are over 130.
Okay.
And so now the next 6 months of music that people are going to be hearing, there's a lot more features, a lot more collaborations. And 365 now went from a Vezi idea to a place where guys can use a platform to be heard for the first time. Some guys never ever, rapped, on a platform before. They've been doing this thing like on a low ground level. So now everyone is equal, it's like the best verse wins. Simple and plain. The best song idea wins. And it's created a whole community where I'm hosting sessions every weekend, and the crazy thing for me too is that it began in Langa and it filtered over to Google, to Kailicha, Nyanga, Filipi, guys I never met, to a point now. I did 2 songs with guys from America. They came to record the songs in Langa. That was crazy.
Sure.
That was crazy. That was like the highest highlights. And then 2 months ago, I'm going through my email, and for some reason, I'm like, let me check my spam. Oh, because I had no space. Your Google Drive is like running out of space. So now I'm trying to delete stuff. So I go on my spam email. I see the first email. This guy's like, something 365. So I'm like, okay, wait, that's real. That can't be fake. So I go into it and I read this guy. This guy, he's part of a production team in Spain.
Okay.
And this guy's like, man, I've been following your work. I love it so much. I want to work with you. And the guy sent us some music. We recorded the song. We just finished recording the song 2 days ago. So we're sending the song to him. He loves the song. I sent him the demo, and he's like, man, that's it. He already paid for the advertising, everything. It's like also like from someone who doesn't know you, to trust you that much. And also, the song wasn't even done yet. I kept sending him demos, and he's sending me receipts. Like, I just paid this guy to do this. I just paid that guy to do this. And now we've got a song with the guy from Spain. They're dropping it on their end though, because I was just telling them now it's useless for me to drop it on my side because they have a bigger following than we do. So that'd be an amazing way for us, to get people then to be like, who are these guys? And they come back to our platforms. But that all happened through the project we've been doing, and it's been amazing.
Sure, yeah, that does sound amazing, man. A lot of stuff happening. And in terms of events, what do you do with regard to events there? And what's the plans there? I know we chatted some time ago about doing or you guys were going to start doing first Mondays, first Tuesdays, first Wednesdays, first Thursdays. I mean, I was mainly interested when I met you about the one that you want to do in Langa. First Thursdays in Langa. But what's happening with that? Is it still in the pipeline, or is it or what? Because I thought it was quite a good idea.
Yeah, so so the idea is called First. So that's the name of the whole
First,
umbrella name for for the events. So even crazy, that's how I met you is at a rooftop. So when I went there, I knew the guy organizing the event. So his name is Devin Gogs. So the guy from Durban, and again, crazy enough, he hears about us in Durban.
Okay.
That hey, there are these kids, doing this thing in Cape Town, and the first day he lands, he gives me a call. He's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm in Langa. And he just came through. The guys came driving BMWs. It was crazy, and he touched down, and he basically, when someone tells you about you and you're just like, this is crazy. And the way he was
like telling you what they know about you and what you're doing.
Yeah. And I was
you
like,
didn't
also
tell them, they just found out another way.
Nothing, man. And the accuracy of the way he was seeing with our movement, that also was like a highlight to me, because this is someone in the industry that works with the biggest artists. He's booking, booking the biggest guys. So for him to, recognize what we're doing and where we want to go, that was hugely important. And then him going, hey, man, because you remember I had like a mob of people that were with me.
Yeah.
Because he said to me, he said to me, please come Thursday and come and see what I do. Come and see this and let me know if you see any possible collaborations. That was it. So then now I'm like, man, I feel so unfair to kind of come alone. So I'm like, man, like, how many people can I come with? Should I just come on my ace or with the guys?
Yeah.
This guy just rolls the red carpet. He's like, bring anyone you want.
Yeah. You brought an entourage.
I brought the whole team. I brought the whole team with me, and arrived there. And even then, it's like the hospitality from his side, man. Like he treated us like gold, as if we were people who were helping him already, and we were just there to spectate, and everything was ordered, the table was booked, everything, man, was crazy. And then I'm busy recording the vibe, and there's this guy called Almo. He just rocks up, and I look at this guy. I'm like, man, this guy, like, just like your persona, man. You were so like, man, you were so free. Like you weren't uptight in a corner. And I mean, obviously there was like 90% was just black people in the audience. So this guy is just like, how's it to everyone? How you guys doing? What's happening? And then before you know it, we had a full blown chat, and I'm like, man, and that's kind of how
I was there. I was there to just support one of the DJs, Tall Stranger, and I went to go. It was the first time I was checking him properly do a gig, and it was like he does a lot of the Afro tech stuff, and I just went there to watch him, and then I think it was Snooks.
Snacks,
Snacks, yeah. He started chatting to me at first, and then introduced me to you, because he digged Tall Stranger and his stuff, and we just started chatting, and that's how I met you guys. And then later on, Snooks started sending me some of his songs, and I was like, whoa, this is actually some hard hip hop. So I was like, I don't think he's released a song yet, and I played it to one or two other people here outside my office, and they're like, yo, that's hard, man. That's some good stuff.
Nah, 100%. Because even with me, like, usually I meet people, and then obviously they will just, promise you this and that, and then they'll never stick to what they're saying. So even for me, those are highlights, because I started following you too, and I saw you posting a story with this song in the background. And I was like, damn, this is the real one, like, when you just like, damn, this is the real one, he really he's really immersed in what we do, and that was for me also like a highlight in like, the person you are type of thing of like, yo man, if he really likes something, he digs it. It is in a words on his chest. So that was a dope moment for me too, to be like, oh yeah, I peep, I see you, I see you. So yeah, so back to first. So now the idea of first is so within the company, the recognition also was that we don't have like a studio or like a workspace, right? Where we can be like coming here and do everything, we kind of like bouncing around.
Yeah.
So me looking at the everything, I'm like, okay, cool. How are we gonna where's the area that makes the most money and the most impact to get out the message? And events was the easiest one. And again, during my time in varsity, I was already part of the event scene because I was in Stellenbosch. There's no hip hop, no amapiano, there's nothing. So we were the guys curating these things and building relationships with the club owners, the guys who had spaces, and we're doing that already. So I saw the impact initially there also on how, you can mobilize people to understand either a brand or whatever narrative you're trying to push, and events are the easiest way to do that. So I kind of knew that already. So then when it came time to realizing the amount of work that we had, I'm like, damn, we have to do events. But now, how do we find a way to make the events also live on their own and not have it be a once-off thing and make them sustainable? So that was kind of like how first came about. And crazy enough, the year before was, and this is what I think those guys saw, was that we did a whole concept called Iran and a Dream Tour.
Okay.
So in the Iran and a Dream Tour, the ticket price was R1 for entrance. And obviously you want VIP or whatever, then the prices go up. But the whole idea for me there even was, what's the easiest way to bring in a lot of people? Because it was like, what is our goal? Is our goal making money or getting the message out? And the message was stronger than making the money. So I'm like, man, let's just do a thing called Rent a Dream Tour. It's R1 entrance, and the nice thing about this also, our work is way more valuable than R1. So when you come here, you actually feel like you got worth for your money. Because you'll be like, damn, for R1, these guys went crazy. So that was the concept, and we did that. And then after doing that, then now I'm already at Bridges. I've already got people I'm working with and stuff. And I understood that guys were complaining about how in the arts, these guys have to wait for gigs. So for 6 months, you could sit down and have nothing going on. So I'm like, damn, we need to make this sustainable, but it can't be a rented dream because we can't sustain ourselves with R1. It's damn near impossible. So while I was looking back at the events, crazy thing happened on the Thursday, because the Rent a Dream Tour happened on a Thursday here in Langa, and the Thursday is a dead night in Langa. But now I'm somebody who's partying outside of Langa. I know the pool of First Thursday, and ironically, the crowd was a predominantly white guys. They were there. My friends came through because they party on a Thursday. So then guys started telling me like, man, we should definitely do this again. Blah, blah, blah. But I'm knowing in my mind, I can't do this again for R1. It's just a waste of my time. It just won't make any actual meaning.
Yeah.
So now with Indonesia Galaxy, we also do tourism. We call it artivism. So basically, like, it's like telling Langa through the eyes of artists. And I believe that, even through the struggle of like, post 94, is that a lot of the ways people were like combating the system was creatively. It wasn't guys who went to school and who learned how to be diplomatic. It was just guys finding strategies and ways to maneuver. And that's kind of what we do as artists, is that we just kind of figure out what we want to do and we find a way. And that's kind of how we tell our story, merging it with the culture of Black people and how they've kind of been trained to, make things happen out of nothing. So doing that, then also people then that's where the tie happened for me. I was like, man, now all these guys who were coming from Europe and Spain and everything, coming to like visit Langa and stuff, they were loving that First Thursday concept and they were visiting it. So now it became more than an event, but it actually became sort of like a day where people can meet, street culture. It's like doing a tour of Langa through its music. It's like, come here, literally. So that's kind of how we built it up. And then the part where we kind of stopped and we lost momentum was again, like, there's no one investing into kind of what we're doing right now. We're kind of doing it out of own pockets and out of our own, hustle and everything. So then, so I've got people like, we have like a board of people who are like advisors. So we kind of sat down with everybody and then they were like, man, right now, I think we should kind of put all our eggs in the 365 project basket because of like the amount of reach that it has, and also speaking back to the NPC side, is that
Yeah.
when this kind of thing builds, the leverage will be so high that by the time you want to do this, and also it's winter now, so it's perfect time to kind of close it down and kind of wait and see how can you bring it back come summertime. But it's really
Yeah.
been something that's really powerful and holds a lot of weight, because even like my vision for it is that, you know, these guys, even the conversation I'm having with Europeans, like, man, I'm just gonna come to Cape Town for first. So,
Yeah.
so it's like if we manage to get the thing set up, is that it'll be a rock in the daisies type of thing. It'll be like an ultra type of thing. It'll be, you know,
Yeah.
Coachella type of thing where guys want to visit Cape Town to be a part of, you know,
To
the
be a
first
part of
events.
that. Yeah.
100%. So it's definitely something we're still working on, and I'm still pushing for, because again, it builds the economy around the artists. You know, guys get to perform, guys get paid, and again, it'll be monthly. You know, so now you know for 12 months, if your music is ready and you know you've earned your spot, you could make a living just by, you know, performing it first. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad it's still in the pipeline.
No, definitely,
And
definitely.
good stuff, man. So, what I also just wanted to ask you, in terms of how you go about with when you've got a setup, you've obviously learned the structure with regard to having a non-profit, and then also a sort of a profit side of the business. How do you manage that income, and how do you then manage that in terms of just you as in Vezi, your personal finances? What do you know? What don't you know? What are you looking at still learning about? Is it something that you think is important? Is it something that other artists need to learn about as well? What's your take on that?
Yeah, firstly, 100%. I think it's something that a lot of artists disband, and that's why a lot of guys, you know, kind of fall into like kind of depression and feel like there's no movement in their career. And most of the time, it goes back to like being strict with yourself and separating, you know, the artist and the business. You know, at the end of the day, you must make a living with this thing. So it's like if there's no means, you know, to make sure there's sustainability, then you end up running in circles. You know, you get this money from this gig, you blow it, another gig, and then gigs don't happen, and then it's back to square one type of thing. But also understanding though the circumstances of the artists. You know, a lot of them are coming from, you know, backgrounds that aren't, you know, well off. You know, so now it's really tough to just say to your mom, maybe, no, this is money for the business. You know, those are tough arguments to make when you know there needs to be bread in the house and there needs to be a door fixed. You know, so I understand all of that, but I do feel like it's a sacrifice and a way artists need to include in their life just to be sustainable. Because it's so painful to hear someone going, they don't even have the money to attend the gig. It's like, you know, things like that, for
Yeah.
example. It's like, man, you should have had some money kept for, you know, just transportation or something, you know. But again, I understand, but understanding doesn't mean that you're going to be fine. You have to do it. You know, I can understand, but if you don't do it, then you don't attend the gig. And even like another thing with me is that like attending, like Aloha, for example, he didn't pay for transportation, for example. You know, I paid for that because I already had like money saved for anything that might need me to go and meet someone, networking. So that stuff I planned for. You know, so I was able to, you know, order transportation for everybody to come and attend. So it's just small things like that, you know, where if you don't have the necessary means, you actually end up missing out as the creative, you know. So yeah, so in my regard, with finances right now, I'm actually at a place now where I'm realizing also that the business side, we're missing out on a lot of money just because we don't have a base area to work on. So we currently actually are in the process of building a studio, and we've got people who want to help us out with funding and, you know, bringing in sponsors and everything else. And what that's going to look like then is that when the studio gets built, there'll be a shop in there, right? Then the tourism thing also, it will be a lot easier. Then people can arrive at a certain place and move off from there type of thing. So now with the store, then the business itself then can start having its own accountancy. You know, because right now what's happening is I'll take money out of my own pocket, for example. Let's say I invest into the business, right? Whether it's an event or whatever. Cool, that happens. And then we make profits, and I pay myself back the money that I kind of put back in. And then
Yeah.
even usually sometimes I won't even pay myself a salary.
Yeah, because that's
You
different,
know,
right? You giving money to get somewhere is a loan to the business that you need to pay
100%.
yourself back. That's not paying yourself yet.
Exactly. And that's something people don't understand, right? Because it's like they'll actually guys who I work with maybe sometimes they'll think that no, you made 5,000 rand from this, for example. But they're not understanding I already put in 5,000 to
To
make this
get you
thing
to that
work.
point, yeah.
So I never got paid, to do any of this, So that was my understanding of like, the business needs to have its own accountancy, where it kind of personally can exist with its own finances coming in and
Mm,
out through that.
mm,
Because me as an artist, what I've done is I've been so fortunate being like multi-talented. So I would get gigs in between, like where
yeah.
even like with tourism, for example, I was working with students from abroad for 2 months who came from around the US. They were doing an exchange program, and they came from varsities from Harvard, Boston, Pennsylvania, all different types of universities. So I have that access, and even with sports, sometimes I get called to come and do like a coaching clinic. Sometimes I go perform. I'll also use my studio as a way to book artists to come record. So there's a lot I do for myself personally to kind of keep going and keep moving. But my huge goal though is that the company, once it reaches a point where it can make its own income and own revenue, then I think we'll get more opportunities. Plus, I think we'll then enter a new realm of an economy, of building an economy, because once a studio is set up, there's engineers who have no studios, right? They can book the studio to come and use for their own artists. We can book that. We can start educating guys to be engineers. Same with
Mm,
because the studio is going to be a multi-purpose studio where there'll be an art section, a content section, and the music section. So even
mm,
within those spaces and the clothing section, within those spaces, it's not just for me and only the guys that work under me, but even a thing for the public. If you're a designer, an affordable space to come and work, stuff like that. So that's why I feel like when that kind of happens, it'll be so much easier for the business itself to stand on its own 2 feet and have its own finances coming in and out. And yeah, so that's kind of how I kind of project the finance side of things.
okay. But don't forget to then also make sure that once the business makes money, you pay yourself as well
Yeah,
then. That you,
a
your
hundred
personal,
percent, 100%, 100%. Because that's also the tricky thing, right? Of like, and I'm sort of also excited to like kind of figure out, or even because I speak to a lot of people also within, accountancy and stuff, and I'm never shy to say I don't know
mm,
something I want to know. So like
mm,
now it's like within the company, I may be like the CEO or whatever the term is, but I'm still an artist too.
mm,
So
yeah.
what happens now? Do I get double payment?
Yeah, you should.
Those type of, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah, of course.
exactly the conversations
Two
that
different roles.
100%, because I'm not just like saying here's a song and I'm out of here. I'm the
Yeah,
one planning the release strategy.
yeah,
I'm doing the behind the scenes and the front of the scenes.
yeah.
So
It's a
that's
different
also
job.
something 100%. 100%.
Mm.
Yeah,
Nice,
but also
man.
like
Yeah.
to cut you off. But also what excites me though, even within saying that, is like I do foresee having people fulfill all these roles, and that's what I'm mainly excited about, because if we can change whether it's 10 people's lives, with like a permanent working environment, that
Yeah.
for me would be like a dream come true. Because like I'm saying now, it's a broad multimedia company where there's clothing, there's music, there's
Mm,
videos, there's it's already like we're
mm.
thinking like a 10 to 20 people staff from the township self-taught, and that for me would be yeah, an amazing feat, I won't lie.
Well, eventually it might even be each of those sections is a different company all on its own, being run all on its
Yep,
own, having different shareholding because of different interests. So that's the
100%,
growth that it can achieve ultimately.
100%, and that excites me so much. It really excites me.
Awesome, man. Well, if it doesn't excite you, why don't why you know why do it? You know?
100%, 100%.
Which I think is an interesting one because I think there's so many people out there doing things like you said with the sport. You may have also been doing sport, and other people look at it as a great thing. You're not necessarily doing it. You let go of something that you actually really love, and then you kind of like
Mm.
a little bit unhappy. Although what you're doing is most people would kill to do the same thing, right?
100%, 100%. And even like for me, like I mean, like I wasn't like like an upcoming cricketer. Like I was there. Like like there's a difference between someone who's just playing in the
Yeah.
backyard. Like I was there. I was really
You didn't
close.
just have dreams of it. You were actually
I was actually there. So when it came time to leave, man, it was the toughest thing because I met like 100 people. Why did you leave? Oh, you stupid. Ah, art makes no money. So like I had to face all these pressures, man, and it wasn't easy. I won't lie, like it wasn't easy. Even to a point where family gatherings became a trauma for me. Like,
sure.
someone, yeah, you can imagine like your uncle had a dream for you, and he's like, yeah, Vezi's gonna be this, and then I arrived one day, it's like, what happened? And then so that was really tough. Even in the community, a lot of people hold sports quite close to their hearts here in Langa, so it was tough, man, walking the streets and yeah, like it was, I was a madman. They would see me as like, this guy's crazy. He just wasted his whole life type thing. And
Sure.
black people are unlike people to hide stuff in their chest. They say it out loud. So I was hearing all sorts of like, sayings and yeah, it was tough, man. It was really tough. And yeah, I mean, I still wouldn't trade it for anything because like you're saying now, it's like I felt like I've just invested in something that's really difficult to lose because of the passion I have for it. Whereas within cricket, only God knows what type of struggles I was going to face. And if people who know where you follow something you really love, is that when a challenge comes, you bounce back a lot easier than somebody who's just doing something, just for the sake of doing it. So I always knew that it, I could do it, and kind of ride the gravy train, but it was just never going to materialize into what it could have been if I didn't have, the different perspective that I accumulated growing up. So yeah, man, I feel like with what I do now, like I wake up at like 3 a.m. in the morning, just like the universe would wake me up with an idea, and I'm like, I would have never done that to cricket. Like with cricket, I was waking up grumpy in the morning, like, like, like it's like man, like I'm really like passionate about it, and respect to people who raise their own concerns, and the whole idea of art makes no money, and it's so funny. Yesterday I was watching a documentary about the guy who made Mercedes Benz and the
Okay.
struggles he faced to make Mercedes Benz. I related to that. I'm like, like, and again,
Mm.
he's inventing something that's never been done before.
Mm.
So people don't understand the use of a car. It's like, because I remember
Mm.
the first car he made, it was like 10 miles or whatever, and the horse was faster than his car.
Faster, yeah. Why
So
would you take
someone
the
said,
car?
what? So someone said, why would I ride this thing where the horse is quicker? So stuff like that, people will find like real life, like reasons why you shouldn't do what you do. And he
Mm.
believed and he knew what his thing was for. And the true thing that I picked up on that story was that when you create something that's never been seen before, it's going to be a lot harder. But once you do it, watch everything change around it. And that's what I feel like we're doing right now is we're not waiting for the economy to come to us. We are the ones creating it. We're the ones
Mm.
creating the infrastructure. You know what I mean? So when we do it, others will see that they can too. And the next thing you know it, they'll be like Sony, all these companies in Cape Town,
Mm.
created by guys, because I'm not the only one who possesses the talents I do. There's so many people, but a lot of them still don't have the know-how, still don't have the strength or the grit, to build it themselves. So I genuinely believe that we are doing something that's never been seen before, and I believe that also because even people within the industry that don't understand it. Like when you're
Sure.
confusing someone in the industry, you understand like, okay, wow, I'm moving in a different lane. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting though, that they can't see that even though they're in the industry
Mm.
and see some kind of vision with that.
Nah, 100%. I mean, one guy said to me the one time, he was like, you have to focus on one thing, right? And I was like, I understand what you're saying, but that's an old way of thinking. We are now
Mm.
in an era where people are consuming, like TikTok for me is the best example. Because I'm telling you now, if I was to pitch TikTok to somebody like 10 years ago, they would tell me to only put a certain type of content on it. Don't open it
Right.
up. It's going to be confusing. But that's how people are interacting with the world today. Today we're
Mm.
not like back in the day where a newspaper is enough. We read the newspaper we will still watch the news, and we will still watch a film. We will still, it's like we are like, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like DNA has embraced our idea of consuming multiple different ways of content at the same time, even, you know what I mean? So now the old business model was always one thing at a time, one thing. Whereas today, and I use the examples of guys like Elon Musk, that guy didn't just make Tesla, he made the app and sold the app, and he did this, and now he's doing trucks. It's like it's like we are in an era now where, even like with iPhone, iPhone began as one type of medium. Now they're in every space. They're in everything, and even the guys who what's the guy, Virgin Media or Virgin Mobile,
Richard Branson.
like Richard Branson, his whole company is like, I'm pretty sure he couldn't pitch that to someone. He had to lie and say it's one thing, but he knew it's a lot more. Even Jeff Bezos' story, I'm someone who really follows his story, where he first said it's only for books. Because he says it himself. He's like, people didn't understand the magnitude of what I wanted to do, so I had to make it make sense to them. So I saw that books was the highest commodity and something people were like, respected. So I said it's only for books. When I knew that, I was going to branch off and start adding other elements to it. And it's the same thing with me, is that I find myself having, when I meet with someone, I need to know what they want. And I'll always speak about that. If it's a clothing opportunity, only about clothing. I won't tell you about the music, but it's like, you know what I mean? But it's like the system has to change at some point and realize that we are multiverse people, man, and everything lives, man. Everything lives within each other.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally a word created as well. If a person does multiple things, it's a multi-potentialite. When I read the definition of that, I was like, I finally understood who I was. Because I've also been always told, like, you should focus on something. Because everyone is like, what are you doing now? You do so many different things. Like, what are you busy with at this point in time? All these comments, But it's definitely the way that things are moving towards, and if not already there. But yeah, there's definitely still a lot of people out there that don't understand doing multiple things at once, and I do them in totally different ends of the spectrum.
Exactly.
It's not even all art. It's not even all art related, or it's like it's literally from the creative all the way to the pure corporate, legal, financial stuff. So
yeah, and that's what was so trippy when we had a conversation and I was speaking to you, because I remember when we were speaking, it was always me telling you what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And then when you finally kind of started telling me about yourself, I was also like bewildered. I'm like, what? Like corporate what? Because I was tripped out. Like, how? I'm like, this guy, like, corporate, working with art. I'm like, what? This is crazy. But even then, like, I found like a belonging. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn, like, finally someone also understands like what I'm living through. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's just what it is. Like, because at no point did you say like I have to. It was so passionate. Like, it was you were just speaking like true passion, and I'm like, that's it. Like, that's what it is. It's like, you get it, you do what you don't.
Yeah. You'll find that they call it, I think it's Seth Godin. That's the first time I read it. It's a guy called Seth Godin. He talks about tribes. So it's basically like there's a certain set of people that will understand what you do, and there's going to be way more that don't understand what you do.
So true.
And you find your tribe eventually, and everyone finds each other that understands that, and that's all you need to really worry about at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. That's always been my motivation too. Is just that belief that I'll find the right people, man. It might not happen when I want it to happen, but it happens all the time at its own time, and it's a true testament. Yeah, and I love Seth Godin too, and that's also like crazy enough. And that's kind of what I do as through my workshops, is introduce the guys in the township to these type of thinkers. Because I'm a huge believer of storytelling, and I believe that, like, for example, I don't want to like name your age, but let's say if you're 50 years old, right, and you give me game, you've saved me 30 to 10 years of my life by just advising me on stuff you've done. And for me, like, YouTube has been the greatest phenomena in the world. Like, I binge watch so many podcasts. I binge watch so many interviews with these guys. and the stuff they were saying became what I did. You know what I mean? So, and you can imagine, like, I'm talking about more than 20 different, people, and out of that 20, that's probably like information worth 500 years if I was to calculate it, that I have just by watching a video. And that's what I always tell guys too, is like, if you don't have people to inspire you immediately, find them, man. They're everywhere in the world. Today there's no more going to the library, or like having to go to school to find out about, intellects in certain fields. You can just Google them and find them and study what they're saying and see if it has any relevance for you. You take it, you don't. So that's been really what has accelerated my growth as an individual, man. It's just the seeking knowledge all the time.
Oh, no, that's good. Vezi, what else do you want people to know currently about your business, about what you do, about where they can find you, and check out more about what you're doing in Langa, especially with your tours. I think that's one of your main things at the moment as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I think we got a website out, and also, like, again, another crazy thing was I met a guy from Ireland, through the tours and stuff, and he was a web designer. So he went back to his company and he said, like, man, I was moved by these guys. I love what they do, and he managed to get his company to provide us with a free web design. And initially, it was just only for the company, and he loved what we did to a point where now we've opened it up to every artist. Okay. And so every artist can get a free website. It's like you can do it in 5 minutes. And we've been working with guys to get it up and running. And once everyone has signed up and created their own websites, do you know what Yellow Pages is? Yellow Pages, the book.
Yeah.
What is it called in English? Well, what's it called?
Yellow Pages.
No, like what is it is it a manual? Or there's a term that they use for it? Like it's okay, I don't know, but there's a term. Someone told me the term of what that book is. Like sort of like a director, like whatever they
directory.
Said it was. Directory, yes. So now we're basically taking Yellow Pages and putting it on websites. So for example, now if you go on my website now, it's just obviously Mnasekasi and the guys that I work with directly. But in the next month or two, we'll be opening a thing called Artist Connect. So when you go on Artist Connect, you will see every other artist that's beyond my reach on there. And the whole idea is some artists need studios, some artists need videographers, some guys need vocalists, booking agents need artists. So now when we have everyone in one thing, we build the community. And now when you need anything art related, you know where to go. And then taking it a step further, even we're going to be doing one called Business Connect, because now the artists obviously are the guys doing it, but now artists need the business side to make things happen. So now I've managed to it's still in the works. There's a school called Tsiba Business School, which is here in Cape Town. I'm not sure if they are national yet, but they have kids coming out of there from townships with like law degrees, business management, events organizing, which are things we need, right? So now, but we don't know that there's guys who are actually qualified in these things. So the Business Connect will be those guys. Guys who are videographers, guys who own studios, guys who do mixing, guys who do podcasts, anyone basically who is of service to artists to make their careers better. And basically what we've been creating out of that is the Yellow Pages of today.
Yeah.
So 100, that's the goal, So the website is definitely a place I'd say people can start off with to kind of get the whole idea. So it's mnasekasi.co.za. That's where all the information is, a nice kind of breakdown of what we do. And then on Instagram, also, even on there's our Instagram handles, our Facebook handles. So everything is on there.
We'll put the website in the description, so anyone watching it can have the exact website in the description, and so they can have a look.
100%. And I'd recommend people just to keep up. I think there's a lot of stuff happening in just the next 6 months. There'll be crazy stuff. We're doing a launch again. 365. When I first did it, there was no a marketing idea, nothing. So now meeting like the right people, we're planning to do this. A girl I met from Germany who's wanting to help us create like a mini trailer of what 365 is. So that's another thing that people can look out for. It's going to be coming out. I'm currently writing a book about 365 actually. Let me check. Yeah, I was writing it now. I want to see how far I am. So I've done 4 chapters. It'll be 9 chapters in total. So 4 are done. So I'm just finishing off the last. So again, I feel like I mean, with the education that I have, this is a moment that needs to be documented and spoken about. And I think it's an interesting story, man. Even to me too, sometimes I'm like, this is crazy. So yeah, so there's a book coming out, and yeah, as soon as this kind of like thing that is done and there's a studio getting built, I'm also about to create like a GoFundMe, like a fundraiser page where we can get people outside who are interested in helping out, to build what you're trying to build. So yeah, so keeping up with us on social medias, that'll be super helpful, and just checking the journey out as it goes. That'll be amazing.
We'll put all the social media handles in the description as well. Make sure people can find you. What do you? I mean, the interesting thing is about people and artists and entertainment is, and especially what you're doing, and because you're so passionate about what you're doing and you're enjoying it, it is like having fun the whole time.
Yeah, so true.
What else do you do that just for yourself, just in terms of your own hobbies, that you don't necessarily do just from a just for yourself and for your own enjoyment, that take you a little bit outside of what you do business and on a day-to-day, or everything is something that's going to become something in your multiverse? Or do you have just some personal hobbies that you like to partake in?
Yeah. So yeah, so it's actually a dope question, because I asked myself the one day, I was like, "Yo, what do you like to do?" Because like when I played sports and I was in school, music was my hobby, right? So now it's like my hobby is my profession. I don't have any hobby, so it's so trippy. So what I do actually is I used to gym a lot, but then obviously the music and the work kind of got quite hectic for me to kind of go to gym. So then I joined the sports club here in Langa. So I play hockey.
Okay.
So I play hockey for the club. Yeah, every weekend I'll be there playing. That's a nice way for me to like kind of reset. Also, like I like the beach, man. Like real talk, I just like going to the beach and just like kicking it, just like even if I just sit there, whether I just sit there. And I think also I like it a lot because I don't have to bring my laptop with me or my phone.
Right. Okay. So that
is
like a hobby. You're not looking at
anything. It's just like me, the ocean, and having fun. What else do I like, man? I also like I like just going out sometimes, either for but usually I don't really like going out with my creative friends.
Okay.
Yeah, because a night out with us turns into an idea. I'm serious, man. I'm serious, man. We'll be there planning, and I'll just be like, "What are we doing here right now?" So I like to just I'll call like an old friend or someone, be like, "Hey, man, let's just go at a bar, man, and have a few drinks." And usually we'll mainly reminisce, speak about how far we've came. And also, like, for me, I always find it interesting to learn about other people's like journeys, so it'll be an awesome time just to link up with them and speak to them, be like, "Hey, what you up to, man? What's happening?" Da, 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 da. So I just like that. And even for me, sometimes like going to a different environment, it has become a hobby for me. Just like moving out of Langa, going elsewhere and meeting new people, chatting. Like I don't know, I find that so so relieving. I don't know. It's kind of me getting out of myself and kind of putting the attention to someone else. And I found that, yeah, something I really enjoy doing.
Okay. What's a great place that you go to that is totally different to Langa, that you enjoy, where you feel like you're actually just relaxing, apart from the beach now?
Yeah, place. I like obs.
Okay.
Yeah, observatory. I mean, it's still around arts, which is still biased a bit, but I just love the vibe there. Like it's like a hippie town. It's just like if I had a city to build in my mind, it'd be that.
Okay.
Where people there, like there's a sense of no race there, man. It's weird. It's a weird, like, yeah, it's true hippie style, man. Like people, there's tourists, there's like South African white people, there's kids, there's adults, there's black, white. It's crazy, and how everyone's just interacting. And like for me, like I feel it's in the air. There's something about there. Like when you walk there, you feel like you're part of a movement. It's weird. Like everyone is just welcoming, loving. Even like the guys that are begging on the street, like people aren't like mad or rude to them, like on some like get away or like interrupting me. It's like always like, oh, I'm sorry, man. And they're also understanding, like, oh, it's fine, no worries. Next time, and it's like this like happy go lucky like scene that I really love. Like that's been my hideout spot actually. Like
Okay.
observatory. I love it. Yeah, too much.
So you reckon it's the true multicultural suburb of the Cape or Cape Town?
Yeah. I'd say personally, just from experience as well, I'd definitely say that. Like that's where the cool kids are at, man. Like
It feels like to me it is literally the middle between like central Cape Town, the townships, not Langa actually because it's close. I mean, some of them are so far, and then the deep south.
And you saying that you actually so right. Maybe that's the reason why.
Yeah.
Thinking about it now, like you're so right because like it's actually in the center of almost
it's
everything.
Not the center of Cape Town. It's more like that.
Yeah, if you begin, let's say you begin at Langa, you like township, obs, and then it's like suburban. It's like in the middle, like
and
it's so crazy.
The town suburban or the town, the Cape Town central kind of like crowd, and then you've got your more southern suburbs crowd. Probably also sometimes some of them going to obs that aren't too stuck up.
Because you find the most interesting people there. You're like, how did you get here? Type thing. It's a beautiful town. I won't lie, it's a beautiful town. Yeah, I love it.
Cool, man, dude. It's been amazing chatting with you. I knew the podcast would be good, but I didn't know it would be this good in terms of your story.
Yeah, come on, man. It's like you put two people like this in the room, man. We make magic.
Like it, man. No, but we actually offline definitely need to meet up again soon and discuss some stuff. Or we can decide. We can either discuss ideas or business, or we can just totally chill and not talk business.
Yeah, anything. I mean,
we can meet in obs and not talk business, or we can meet in town and in Cape Town Central and talk just business.
Or we can do all three. Start in Langa, go to obs, and end in town.
I like yeah. But I've been to Langa with you, so we've done that already.
Yeah, true though, true. That was an amazing time, by the way. I'm a special guy, man. Thank you so much. Actually, before we even drop the call, I think I wanna also like thank you properly, man. I think like for me, you're a true like individual who, for me, South Africa like has its own culture deep down on the streets, and you part of the people who are helping that culture, man. Of like people are, we're interacting, man, of just the heart. You know what I mean? Because this guy came to Langa for the first time, and he came to my house, man. That was crazy. And again, you're such a nice guy. But you didn't know how it looked like. What if it was like I don't know? What if it was a hole somewhere? Like you didn't even know it was a cave or something.
That's where I grew up, man. That's where I grew up. I feel most at home in townships usually. Actually, more at home than in the cities. So.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And I think like even I mean I knew Alma for a while, and I didn't know he had a podcast channel, and even the way he hit me up, he was just like, man, like, let's do this thing. And there's a lot of people, who are also like, just like you, have made this journey of mine. And I always like to give you guys your flowers because what you're doing, man, is powerful. And you guys might not know your impact because you're just doing it like out of your heart. And it's like, there's not even an idea of a why sometimes. You're just like, damn, I'm here, let's roll type of thing. And I love you guys' character. And thank you, man. You are inspiration. You keep the hope alive, for a better South Africa type of thing. And that's how deeply I look at it, because I might be an artist and stuff, but the end goal with this art thing is to unite all of us, man. Is to bring us as a community and have us interact, with our stories, with, our experiences, man. It's deeper than just making the money or selling out a show. It's like, for me, the people that are in that show, who's there? Did it change someone's life? Did it impact somebody? And I feel like you should carry the same ethos, so I thank you so much. And it's been a privilege, man, to be here. Thank you so much, and yeah, man, more life, more
No, it's a
blessings to
pleasure,
you.
man.
Until we meet again. Until we meet again.
Okay, no more soppiness.
Ah, yeah.
No, we're just doing what we love, bro. And this
100%.
is my creative outlet. It's don't underestimate my sneakiness in terms of
Yeah.
I've always also got business ideas brewing in the back of my mind.
I
So there's
got
always
you.
ulterior motives, but it's all for the good. It's
Yeah. It's much needed, though. It's much needed.
but this is my creative outlet that I kind of maybe also let go at some point, and kind of now using
God.
what I have been able to accumulate in terms of knowledge and education uh, long term, you know, in a bit of a different way. So, and that definitely includes your whole project and eventually. So,
Sure.
yeah. So we'll keep chatting.
Nah, 100%, man. Thank you so much again. Appreciate you.
Cool, brother. Have a good weekend,
Same applies. Same applies, man.
Good to do this on a Friday.
I know. Can you start off a weekend, eh?
Cheers, bud.
Cheers, Amo. Thanks, man.
Cool, bye.